everybody, Jen Canodal here with Latinos for America, and I'm a very special guest today, Iris Rodriguez, and working on rolling my R's there. Hi, Iris. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, thanks, Jen. Good to be here.
Well, what I think is completely amazing is that Iris was actually from San Antonio, so just a few miles away, and now she lives in Mexico. It is a fascinating story. I was actually turned on to it from another one of my video guests, Laura Perez. It's just amazing because already the little webs are getting tied, and we're starting to help each other. And I mean, Iris, I don't even know where to start, so I'm just going to have you kind of just start telling your story about growing up in Texas.
Okay, well, hi everyone. My name is Iris, or Iris. I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas. Born, bred. My family's from there several generations back. I grew up on the west side, and I understood myself as Mexican. They told me I was Mexican. Even though my family didn't have family in Mexico, we didn't have any stories of crossing the river. To my knowledge, we had been there for generations. So they told us, that I was Mexican. Then came the Hispanic thing that was real popular for a while in the 90s. So then I was a Hispanic, and then came the Latino thing, and that sounded better. It sounded more Spanish. So then we started using Latino. And then I reached this point in my life where I was kind of having a personal crisis, and I asked God to give me something, just anything, just put me somewhere, make me useful. And God put me in what turned out to be the Chicano birthplace of Monsanto, which is in South Texas.
Wow.
And so I was introduced to a community that for over 50 years at that point had been poisoned and tested and monitored by universities, by the federal government. And so it was just a really huge, painful experience to watch my community suffer like that. And through that process of pain and witnessing, and sharing other people's pain, I'm documenting it on video because I didn't know what else to do. I was just, in college, and I didn't know what to do. I felt that was an answer to my prayers, so I went with it. So I ended up taking several years of footage and getting really, really involved in the situation. And it just so happened that I wanted to help somehow, and I didn't really know how, but just little by little, I realized that there was like a lack of communication. There was a block. The media didn't want to pick it up. People couldn't communicate with each other, and how are we going to get it out to the public? So I built a website, and that's where everything changes. So then I had Monsanto, Dow Chemical, who else? DuPont, lawyers on my back for years, because it turns out that the community had a 3,000 plaintiff massive lawsuit against 30 of the biggest chemical corporations in the world. And because I was putting this information online, well, I naturally got in the middle of things. So that's where my story starts. And at that point, I start really reflecting on who I am, what my purpose is, where I come from, who my people are. And for the next 13 years, I go on a journey that takes me from being Mexican, Tejana, Hispanic, Latina, to Chicana, to indigenous. And that's where I ended up. And I am just deeply engrossed now in fusing social justice with technology, with turning people back to our traditional medicines and our traditional knowledge. So I'm kind of at this intersection of healing, of hope, of reconnecting our past, but also of dealing with our historical traumas as a community.
Yeah, I was telling you before we started, like, I just don't think I could have found just someone just more in line with, everything that I'm about, because some of the people that watch some of my videos, I'm very interested in health and natural cures. I mean, I have a voracious appetite for learning and both of those things. I'm both seeing the government and the powers that be exert unfair influence and I mean, just some crazy stories in both aspects. Not only in the history of Latino culture, but also in the history of food culture. And those two things are merging as well because I feel like Latinos in particular are. Or maybe sometimes it's a socioeconomic thing, but they're the ones that are eating all the processed food, and it's creating this cyclical. And now you have to get medicine, and now the medicine has side effects, so now you get sick again, and it just goes around and round. Talk to me about that in your experience.
Well, I had one understanding living in the States, and now that I've been 3 years in Mexico, I have a broader understanding. And so I see what has happened in the United States in terms of Latino health very connected with what has happened in Mexico in terms of native health. And I do believe that it is socioeconomically targeted, but it's also due to the fact that our genetics don't process foods that are native to white cultures.
Yeah.
We eat corn. We have a 7,000-year relationship with corn on this continent. And so if you have a drop of blood from this continent in your system, you have a personal relationship with corn. And so our diet is definitely affected by a lot of those things. We've moved away from our traditional diets. And real quick, I'm going to plug in a book called Decolonize Your Diet. And it's Mexican food, Mexican cuisine. It's in English, but all 100% natural, vegan, traditional Mexican, like the most indigenous you get.
That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, they just came out with it a few weeks ago. So it's brand new, but it's in English. And so there's a lot of people asking the same questions that we're asking. And on this journey to dig up our roots and
right.
our health and our ways, and that's a book that came out and that can hopefully help a lot of people.
Let me ask you specifically about corn, because I know that it's gotten a lot of publicity for being the most genetically modified. Like, I try to stay away from corn in general, or definitely organic because of that. Have you heard that?
Yes, and the attack is here in Mexico too, because we have so many strains of corn, and Monsanto's trying to patent everything and get rid of the farmers that are keeping the native corn. Because we actually, when you have corn and you have an understanding of that relationship, that plant becomes an entity. It becomes something that you understand and that you work with. That plant is not able to grow without human intervention, so we consider it a brother. Mm-hmm. In that way. And we've walked and been alive for 7,000 years. And part of the struggle that we see with colonialism, or both England and Spain coming to the New World and disrupting on every level imaginable, is the attack on corn. It is a modern day example of ongoing colonialism. And so a lot of Native people see Monsanto as the new face of the white guys coming on the boats,
right.
Across the ocean. And so people protect it, and people grow it and have the original seeds, and we have to keep it quiet. So it's taken on a different meaning for us too, because I didn't grow up with this knowledge. I had no idea, but now that I know, I want to just talk about it and share it, because it's what actually ties us as Mexican American, Tejano, Latino people to our continent, that specific plant. So yeah, it goes real deep with us.
Yeah, that is fascinating. Talk to me. Did you know Spanish before you moved to Mexico?
I did. Because of my activism, because of the mission, the contamination case, which is in Mission, Texas, is literally on the border. So I had to speak a lot of Tex-Mex there. And then growing up in San Antonio, my best friend was Mexican, okay. Mexican from Mexico. So I was exposed. Okay. And then my grandparents, actually on my dad's side, are from Cuba. So I learned a different dialect there. So I had an understanding of stuff, but it was very difficult. But now, I can fool people. I can say very little, and the little that I say, I make sure to capture the accent. And then, if I see Americans, I just keep my mouth shut, and they don't know I'm American. So I'm kind of in the shadows.
You little sneaky thing. You look like you speak Spanish in that beautiful outfit, though. I'll tell you what, I am jonesing after that. We have We have what? Oh yes, how we've Americanized Cinco de Mayo, right?
Yeah.
That's coming up. I'm all, that's Battle of Pueblo, just random. But so how do you think that now that you do speak Spanish, how do you think that's changed things for you? Just what? How do you think that's changed being able to be so articulate and talk with now twice as many people?
Well, I got to a decent point in the United States before I came out here, and that was just through dealing with a lot of the immigration stuff that was happening in the community. So I was okay, but now that I'm here, and now that I've established some roots with ceremony native circles here, so because I have also I'm no longer a Christian. I'm completely fully immersed in my traditional beliefs and in working with the earth and honoring the earth and there's a lot of things we have in common, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, no, I can tell. I need a million videos with you.
But the Spanish got me so far because in ceremony we don't speak European languages, and Spanish comes from Europe.
Right.
So Spanish is actually, yeah, it's funny being Latino because you think, okay, well, let's take the layer off on Latino. Well, let's take another layer off on Mexican. Okay, well, let's take another layer off on Spanish. But you're not really Spanish.
Right.
That's from Europe. That's from Europe. And not enough Spanish came to mix, to produce a 50% mix of bloodline with people. They were far outnumbered here. So we're native. We're native. But we've been detribalized.
Yeah.
But so what I've learned is that I can speak in English and that makes me money online. I can speak in Spanish, and that helps me on my day-to-day interactions around here. And over there, speaking in Spanish was survival for some people, because I had to connect with people to help,
Sure.
with social justice stuff. But now my world is expanding because I'm digging into Nahuatl. So we pray in Nahuatl. My kids know English, Spanish, and Nahuatl. And so we're going real deep. And each language is like an eye, a mirror, or a window into a whole other world, a whole other worldview, and so it's just a stepping stone.
Yeah, it really is. I have. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can go deeper and deeper, and you're going to end up at the native languages, and you're going to end up at the conocimiento and at who we are, now. We may not have the same names, we may not know our names or remember our stuff, but we're there. We're asking questions.
Yeah, I think I was telling you on one of my last trips, just being in Puerto Rico, and there were a couple times that I was around some music and I didn't know what the lyrics were, but I really felt like it awakened something in my soul. Like I was like, this is like, that's what I was saying. It like brought out this Latina in me that I didn't, like I was like, I don't know the language but this is me. This is like, this feels right. This feels like I need this. And so, now what will people find when they go to, now how do you say that? Xica Media?
Xica Media. It's just an umbrella website, and you'll find links to my 6 networks. I manage different networks. I work with different groups across the country on social justice issues, ranging from ending family detention in Texas to I run another one called Chicana Chronicles. So it's like arts, Chicana, indigenous perspective, arts, poetry, that sort of thing. I also have Chica Nation, which is a website that actually kind of documents this collective questioning of identity. But it looks at it from an indigenous lens, so it's kind of like easing folks into that knowledge. That's Chica Nation. I also recently started kind of coming out of my shell and singing ceremonial songs. So I have a music production company called Tezcatlipoca Records. And then I'm also a part of, like I said, different groups and native circles. So another one is a land conservancy a cultural land conservancy out in West Texas. So yeah, it's just kind of a mix of things all along the spectrum of retaining culture, rediscovering identity, and building community and helping people out.
I love it. We are maybe cut from the same cloth. I'm just like, I want to do everything. And yeah, just I heard I was listening to a speaker the other day, and he said, I feel like I'm an orange in a world full of raisins. You know, like I have so much more juice. And I'm like, yes, that's me. I'm just like, what if people want to know more? If they want to help, what would you tell them to do?
Well, it depends. There's lots of different things that you can do. If you're asking questions, you can check out Xica Media. I'm sorry, ChicaNation.com, and look at the different things that I'm curating there. It's like a collective community library sort of thing. If you're interested in arts or checking those things out, you can go to Chicana Chronicles. If you want to take action on an issue that is live and happening right now, and it's horrific, and it's happening right there in the States, you can go to endfamilydetention.com. I don't know how much has been said in the media about that.
I don't know what it is. I will definitely have to go look into it.
Yeah, the United States has concentration camps for Central American women and children that are fleeing, and they're coming and asking asylum, but because of the private prison contracts, they're being held in concentration camps and used as slaves to be experimented on. So it's kind of like unbelievable stuff that is not, it's not something you can just tell somebody. But I curate a space where we share the stories from the people inside, either the kids' drawings or the mom stories. It also shares stories of the advocates, the lawyers that are in this horrific legal system. And kind of, it's just a space for people to get informed on what's going on, because you're not going to get this information in the corporate media.
No.
And it's happening in, there's several places across the United States, in Berks, Pennsylvania, and then several places in Carn City, Texas, which is just south of San Antonio, and also Hutto, which is just north of Austin.
That is wild, but I'm not surprised, because I'm consistently surprised the more that I dig into why things, specifically in America, are the way that they are. So I will definitely be looking into that. Yeah. Wow. I bet you rile up people all the time everywhere you go. It's really, really fantastic. I really feel super blessed that you took some time. And again, I want to follow along and do anything that I can do to help. And I know I have so much to learn from you. You definitely got the jump on me with this whole figuring out what's happening. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to tell us about before we go?
Just that if you want to know more about what it means to be Latino, or what it means to be Texan, or what it means to be Hispanic, that's good. It's a journey, and you shouldn't feel bad of where you are. You got to start where you are, and you can't start a journey of fulfillment and healing and recapturing your information if you're starting from a deficit mindset of I'm not enough, or I'm wrong for being this way. I'm wrong for not speaking Spanish, or I'm wrong for not knowing about Mexican culture. We got to let that go.
I love it. Yeah.
Where we are, and baby steps. It's going to take time. It took me 13 years, and yet I feel blessed that I'm here now. And I through the work, I have I feel like I have a broad now, international perspective on things. But it took a lot to get here, and so I just encourage you, don't keep asking questions, keep researching, don't give up, don't get hurt, because you're gonna find not so nice things about our history. Yes, we have trauma, but we also have resilience, and so just remember that, and we're here, and we're here now. We're asking these questions now for a reason. So more power to you.
You are so inspiring. Thank you so much for taking time out, and I will definitely be following along.
Cool. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I actually don't get interview opportunities that much. I usually just a megaphone for someone else, so I really appreciate the time and space that you're sharing.
Yeah, well, I will. We'll have to make it a regular thing then, because I know if I want to learn, there's other people that want to learn from you. So I'll do anything that I can. My nueva amiga.
Cool. Yes, from
Okay.
Mexico, Guadalajara.
There you go. Okay, everyone. Adios. I'll put all of Iris's information below. Adios.
Thank y'all. Bye bye.